Just south of Independence Park, you'll find the largest collection of colonial houses in America. We're in Society Hill. It was called Society Hill because it was land that William Penn granted to a stock company called the Society of Free Traders. And their goal was to promote trade in Pennsylvania. And they apparently built a lot of very substantial houses here in this neighborhood. Society Hill today is beautifully preserved. It has a mix of shops and there's some cafes and little restaurants. Mostly it's a residential neighborhood. There's no hill left at Society Hill, but the people with money still live here, and they have spent a lot of their money in renovating these houses. So for a relaxed, historic stroll through the back streets of colonial Philadelphia, you've got to come to Society Hill. You'll find the oldest hospital in America. Like you'll find shops with Chippendale pediments, classic antique shops. Colonial-style brick walkways weave through the neighborhood, and you can stroll on the major streets or these narrow back walkways. There's plenty to see with the shops and the history. Nearly 1,000 buildings have been renovated in the old style, making this one of the finest examples in America of urban renewal. Even the new buildings are constructed to look like the old buildings. And then just on the southern edge of Society Hill, you're going to find a change of pace. You're going to find a neighborhood that's got outdoor restaurants and lots of hip shops. What's the place where all the hippies meet? What's the place that can't be beat? It's South Street, according to that golden oldies from the 60s. And today, this passes as the Greenwich Village of Philadelphia. South Street, John's Bar and Grill, is a fine spot to eat outdoors. And then take a stroll for about 6 blocks along South Street, and you'll be rewarded with all kinds of shopping opportunities. And these stores are mostly unique handcrafted items. There's very few chain stores along South Street, and so it provides you with a unique experience. Nowadays in America, it's getting harder and harder to find a Main Street type of atmosphere where there's lots of action, the shops are bustling. With our big box stores and our giant shopping malls, the main streets of America have withered up and died by and large, but not here in Philadelphia. Throughout the city, you'll find a whole number of streets similar to South Street, but nothing quite matches this one for the ambience and the eclectic nature of these shops. What you have are stores that seem to be like small-town mom-and-pop shops, but they really have got fantastic collections that rival the big stores of any major city. In the face of the marketing tidal wave and the retail revolution where there's a gap on every corner, South Street has managed to maintain its counterculture character. There's a crazy mix here of boutiques, pubs, music clubs, restaurants. Watch out for the street performers. There's a theater with legitimate performances, chic clothing stores to find that outfit you've been looking for, or a crowded sidewalk hamburger stand for a bite that can't be beat. You probably won't see any hippies here any longer. They've been replaced by the yuppies and the guppies and by the young trendies and people of all sizes and shapes, so it makes a really fun place just for people watching as well too. And the nice thing is that you can walk here from downtown because Philadelphia is a rather compact city. And then once you get to South Street, all the pleasures are to be found on foot. On weekends during the warm summer months, they actually shut it down to vehicles from 8th Street to Front Street, and it creates a wide walkway that grows pretty wild in the evening. A lot of discos open their doors at night. Zipperhead, another one of the famous shops, showcase comics. But during any season, come on down to South Street and see what you can find. You might get lucky with a Greek lunch for $5.95. What a deal. There's the Philadelphia Pizza Company. The number of restaurants is too long to list, but here's a few more. There's American Bistro, Tiramisu, South Street Souvlaki, Lickety Split, Ipso, Philabel, Tower Records is here, And yet that's not even the main shopping part of town. This is the center city with Chestnut Street, Market Street, Broad Street, Walnut Street. And here you find in the center one of the first great department stores in the country, Wanamaker's. Constructed between 1902 and 1910, the building is based on an Italian Renaissance style of palazzo. This is one of the first interior atriums ever built in America. Unfortunately, the Wanamaker's department store today has been closed down and only the first floor is open to retail traffic. Offices occupy the upper levels. Parts of Philadelphia have gone up, up, up. This is the highest building in town. Parts of Philadelphia are ancient. This one looks like the ancient Pantheon in Rome. It's the Girard Trust Company, completed in 1908. The tallest building in Philadelphia used to be the City Hall until 1987. There used to be a gentleman's agreement that nothing higher than City Hall could be constructed. But now Liberty Place, 60 stories high. It's a glass box that's a postmodernist interpretation of the Chrysler Building in New York City. Inside there's hotels and offices and shops and restaurants. Walking along Chestnut Street is a very pleasant experience with all the trees, and nearby you'll find Rittenhouse Square, one of the 4 main squares in the central city. This is a very classy and elegant neighborhood, surrounded by ultra-expensive apartments and high-class hotels. When William Penn personally laid out the design for his city back in the late 17th century, he divided the central part of town into 4 large quadrants, and in the center of each quadrant there was a main park. Rittenhouse Square is one of those parks, and today it's the most popular park for local residents. Workers from nearby offices will show up for lunch, or you can just sit back and relax on one of the benches or one of the walls. Perhaps if you're getting married, you might want to have your wedding photos taken here. The park has a European ambiance. It's not just one big green lawn. It's divided into smaller areas. There's fountains here, statues there, there's benches, there's walkways, all of which make Rittenhouse Square one of the finest urban parks in America. And now let's take a look at the largest city hall in America. It's also the largest municipal building in the world. It's an amazing structure. It took 30 years to build it, and it cost $23 million back at the turn of the century. That was a lot of money. It's built in this European style called the Second Empire, which is reminiscent of neoclassical, Italian Renaissance, Florentine palazzo, all combined into this massive pile of stone. It contains more than 600 rooms with 14 major entrances, and the outside is covered with a wonderfully complex mix of pediments and columns, dormers, and statues, including the world's largest statue on a building, the statue of William Penn that stands at the top of the tower that's 548 feet high. City Hall stands at the exact center of Philadelphia, so the network of streets expands out from here in a rectangular grid system. Many things to see in the neighborhood all around City Hall.